My name's Stephanie. I have about 6 years of corporate and agency talent acquisition, recruitment, and employer branding experience. Last summer, back in August, I actually launched my own HR and recruitment consulting firm. Then we were hit with COVID, so it's been quite a year. However, I was kind of busy because I was finishing up my master's in HR over at York University, and so far so good. Picked right back up in July. Things are pretty busy, and I have a ton of clients even now asking me for assistance with the COVID-19 workplace policy. So I just wanted to do a brief overview. I'm not going to give you a policy per se. There's a ton of templates online. I am more than happy offline to direct you, where to get one. A lot of the companies currently do have a policy in place. Sometimes they're missing a few important pieces. And to be honest, a lot of small companies currently do not have a COVID-19 policy. And a lot of their employees are usually quite confused when it comes to, am I paid for time off? How do I assess myself? So I've done a few tips and tricks on my end to help these employers better manage COVID-19 in the workplace. And I just want to share with you. And then after, when we're done, I'm more than happy to answer any questions COVID-19 related. I also work directly with a very small handful of candidates on the side, but I mainly work in recruitment. Happy to answer any recruitment or candidate related questions as well if we have time at the end.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Stephanie. That's
thank you.
Quite an amazing accomplishment to switch from corporate life to starting your own.
Oh yeah,
so kudos to you.
I know.
So thanks so much for your time. Again, if anyone has any questions, you can put them in the session chat. And I will leave you to it, and we'll be back towards the end to help you with any questions as well. So,
okay, great. Okay, thanks so much, Rachel. Okay, so I'm going to start this. Bear with me, everybody. Hopefully everybody can see this. So we're going to talk about COVID-19 policy. Okay, so a little bit about Inflow. I just kind of gave you a brief overview. Really, I service small to mid-sized businesses. I'm using technology-driven recruitment to provide recruitment and HR consulting services to really better support my clients. And my motto and our motto, I actually have a few members on my team now. We ensure that people come first, strategy second. Why is a COVID-19 policy important? So really, employers are advised to, of course, adopt a COVID-19 policy, really detailing the prevention measures in place that workers are required to follow to ensure, I have a spelling error, I do apologize, the health and safety to everyone. There are also several legal considerations to take into consideration as well, which are really important in talking about the ESA, Employment Standards Act, not so much Human Rights Code, but it's certainly there as well. Some practical considerations to take when creating this policy. So tasking someone, it can be one person, it can be a small team within your organization, to really take ownership and monitor COVID-19 developments and administer the response policy and changes. So as you know, COVID-19 is changing all the time. I think there's something new probably on a bi-weekly basis that we're adopting here in Ontario at least. So it's just really making sure that this policy is, responding well to these changes. And we're also making sure that the team is well aware, we're communicating it to everybody within the organization, so everybody is staying up to date. Another huge issue that I found with a lot of my clients is that reporting for daily employees to see how they were feeling upon entering the workplace, especially within medical offices, was a huge challenge. So making sure when creating a policy that there's some sort of proactive reporting, which includes the employee to daily report on how they're doing. I recently implemented a QR code system. One of my clients has multiple locations. They are essential. So we implemented the QR code system that every time before they enter in through the front doors, they're scanning the code on their phone, they're filling it out, sending it through, all is good. Also, how to respond to reports. So, your employee has COVID, now what, right? And a lot of employers do not know what to do, especially when it comes to small business. So working from home can be an option. However, is there a policy for work from home on its own? And then is there a COVID-19 policy which dictates what exactly work from home means? What are the working hours? How are we going to get technology to this employee? Security for technology. There are a ton of things to think about that a lot of employers are not remembering when they're creating a policy, which is not their fault. It's just, kind of going over this with an HR consultant or somebody HR related and just, going back and forth in regards to what to include, what not to include. Also, a lot of employees are asking, will I be paid for my time off due to COVID-19? A lot of the times, ESA standards, it is unpaid time off. I know some larger employers like TD Bank, they do provide paid time off to their employees. One issue that I've run into with smaller businesses is yes, it's unpaid, and now they're running into the problem that employees do have COVID symptoms. They're still going to work because they really need the money. So that's an entirely different issue on its own. Next thing to think about, a practical consideration, is there is a COVID-19 Ontario self-assessment online free tool that you can use. So I always recommend to my clients, when an employee is feeling unwell, have them fill out this assessment tool, provide a screenshot to HR or their manager, and keep it on the employee's file. And make sure, this assessment tool tells you exactly what you need to do should you get tested. If so, it gives you a bunch of hospitals that you can actually go to that are open right now, that are taking screening. You can actually book directly through this assessment tool to book in your testing at the hospital as well. Always recommended to store these test results within the employee file. However, no medical note is mandatory at this time, and it's important that we do not ask employees for a medical note as well, given that the ESA guidelines. Employee travel. So when creating a policy, do we have non-essential business travel in there? What about non-related work travel? Christmas is coming up. Is somebody deciding to go and visit a family member? Do they want to use all the vacation they've saved up throughout the year? There's so many factors to think about when it comes to travel. Do they need to, self-quarantine at home after taking non-related or even non-essential business travel, or are we just going to exempt business travel altogether? Also ensuring that we're reviewing other company policies to really ensure changes are made, not only to the policy itself, but anything that's in relation to COVID-19. So work from home is a big one, right? So our expenses covered. This is somewhat of a mandatory work from home for most organizations due to COVID-19. Healthcare, these are essential workers. So what is the policy stipulating in regards to that? And what are we letting our employees know, really taking into consideration not only the employee themselves, but their family? For example, if somebody on your team, her husband gets COVID, she of course needs to stay home. Are we going to be paying her for that time away from the business? Are we allowing her to work from home? What are we stipulating within the policy? These are all really important things that a lot of us are neglecting or maybe forgetting to include, but a lot of it is coming up and it's leaving, small to mid-sized businesses really unsure in regards to what to do. And legally speaking, what are they supposed to be doing when it comes to this? Here's just a short snippet. I just included 6 items here. There are probably a ton of things to include in the policy, and you can also make it branded to your organization as well. If anybody has any questions or would like a template to a policy, I am more than happy to point you in the right direction and provide advice in regards to this. So first things first, I would always include, a little snippet about COVID-19 FAQ, answering common questions to your employees. Number 2, going through all health and safety. So when we think of essential workers, are we providing PPE? Are we having them fill out the QR code reporting system daily? What's the monitoring like if they, need to assess themselves? How are we storing their employee documents that are somewhat sensitive if in case they do have COVID? What's the communication like? Number 3, not only are we taking care of the employee, but we're also taking care of their family. So if another family member gets COVID, we need to also think about that and create things within the policy that are stipulated in regards to this, as well as childcare. So, does an employee have a small child that they need to, have flexible work hours? Now that they're going to be working from home, they have a child that is in school, cannot get a babysitter. We need to be really empathetic when it comes to these things, and flexible when it comes to time. I think now more than ever, we're realizing, yes, we can work from home. It can be done after all. And secondly, how are we supporting our employees throughout this? Vacation. Are we allowing them to take vacation throughout COVID-19? What does vacation look like? Are we allowing them to travel? So many things can be put into this. Working on site. Are we having employees work on site, or are we allowing them to work from home? What are the guidelines in regards to that, or restrictions, if any? And then any additional support. Mental health has been a huge item that has surfaced throughout COVID-19. The EAP, Employee Assistance Program, is a wonderful tool if a company does have a benefits program. Normally, this is included in that. That we really need to be reminding our employees to utilize, to work with these specific specialists, and reminding them, hey, you have up to $500 this year to spend on mental health. Do we also want to possibly, aside from policy, do we want to include, biweekly meditation? We have somebody, from the meditation sector coming in to provide meditations or yoga or something that's just away from work and away from all the chaos associated with COVID-19 to really support them on a higher level. There's also a lot of other employer-related specific content that I could throw in here. If anybody has any specific questions after, I'm more than happy to answer. I just didn't want to throw a ton at you. So some final thoughts. So number 1, preparing and really creating a COVID-19 policy or updating your current policy with some items you may have forgotten. Training employees on the policy. I think it's important to have either a Zoom call or something documented, even a training that's recorded that you can provide your employees, going through line by line through the policy and possibly answering any frequently asked questions afterwards. Educating employees on proper hygiene. There are courses you can take with the Ontario government that are free, that I would highly recommend all employees are completing. And also considering operational supports, which are required, and allowing them to really work from home. So thank you everyone for listening to me. I know that was kind of rammed in about 10 minutes. And if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.